This review is brought to you in part by Ryder's Hobby Shops, where the fun begins. Stop in to one of Ryder's 2 convenient Michigan locations where you'll find a full range of the latest hobby products, supplies, parts, tools, and paint. You'll find aisles and aisles of scale model kits, RC models, model rockets, Warhammer gaming, and railroading products. Stop in at Ryder's today and tell them Doug sent you. This review covers the 1966 Chevy Nova Pro Street. It's a 125 scale kit from AMT number 636. Now, the kit itself dates back to 1988, and parts of it are, a little bit dated. Pro Street cars were really popular at that time. And on the road, the Pro Street look came from overly wide rear slick tires or treaded tires. Now this issue was released in 2012, and the kit's been re-released a number of times. It's always available, and this one comes molded in blue, chrome, and clear, and contains 113 parts. And it's a pretty easy build for the average builder, but cutting a hole in the hood, does require some basic skills. Now there's some optional parts in this kit, so identifying those before you begin the build is pretty important for a proper build. When you're done, the finished dimensions are about 7 1/4 inches long, 2 3/4 inches wide, and 2 1/4 inches high. Now, hey, that's Newt. He's the program director. Hey, Newt, what have you got?
I like the color on this one, and the decals look great. But doesn't that hood scoop make it hard to see?
Nah. Not when you're going straight ahead for a 1/4 mile. Here are the contents of the kit. Now, like we said, it's molded in blue. But you can see it's not an overly complicated, except for those huge and massive rear tires. But it also has a metal axle. So please remember to heed the manufacturer's safety and use guidelines when using any of the products you see or hear used in the review. And here are the decals for the kit. They're pretty nice. The color's nice, the register's good, but you'll probably use some setting solution to get this to settle into the panel lines on the vehicle. But also, please use plenty of warm water and take it easy and use care when you're putting this on the model itself. Construction starts with the engine, and you can see we had Chevy orange on the block here, the transmission silver. And the heads are the same. They're steel color too, along with the front engine part. And we're going to drill out the cylinder heads for spark plug wires, as well as later on the distributor. And next we'll add the accessories. A lot of these parts are chrome plated, of course. The fan belt there, of course, the pulleys are steel, and the fan belt is a flat black. And so you can see the accessories have been put on now. The intake's aluminum, and we'll be adding, the carbs and velo stacks there later on. But you can see here the coil and the distributor have been drilled out, and we're going to add the wiring to those. As you see here, the bottom is aluminum color and the top is black. And here's those velocity stacks and the headers, etc. They're painted high temp aluminum. Now the velocity stacks are not connected on a real car, so cut those apart and round those off so they look nice. And so here's a look at the completed engine with the engine wiring in place and the velos sticking out the top there. It's a pretty impressive look. And next we'll do a little work on the chassis and frame. The frame's molded in there, and it should be painted black, but the panels are an aluminum color. If you are painting a contest model, you're going to want to remove the GM trademark script from the bottom of the chassis. And next we'll be adding the springs and things like that, the control arm and cross members, these panels that you see here for the front end. Here you see the fender walls and the control arms in place up front on the right side there on top of the frame rail. This next step, we're going to add the steering box and the master cylinder, as well as mount the engine. Now back in step 4, it shows us mounting the cross member, but I found that the transmission cross member shouldn't be left off until the engine is in place. So it interferes with the installation of the engine. So go ahead and take it off. As you see here, the red arrows indicate it's been removed. After the engine is in place on the mounts, go ahead and reinstall it. Next, we'll add the parts for the radiator, the support in the radiator and the hose, as well as the upper shock mounts to the tops of the fenders. Here you see the parts in place, and if you're wondering, the radiator is aluminum because that, in fact, it provides for better cooling without having it painted. And now we're going to finish the suspension. You can see those suspension parts, drive shaft, etc., semi-gloss black, and the others are aluminum. Use a small drill, and you can drill out the ends of the exhaust pipes for more realism, and then add a little black to the hole you just drilled. And here you see that the exhaust pipes have been glued to the ends of the headers. And I found out that the metal axle supplied with the kit is a bit too short, so I used one from my spares box, but you can cut one from music wire, and or you can just use some plastic rod stock at about 1/16 inch in diameter. Again, for realism, I drilled out the holes in the wheels. They're pretty nice looking, except that they're closed off. Those holes are not open. I mean, you could paint them, but I just used a drill and drilled them out. Then I went ahead, painted the wheel backs black, and added it to the chrome parts. Now you have to remember to remove chrome and paint when you want to glue parts together. And here are the completed wheel assemblies. The rear wheels don't have any script, but the front ones do. And you just put those together. They'll slip right over the hubs. If you have a problem, warm the tires up in some warm water. So you can see the tires are staged up, the wheel assemblies, and the front suspension pieces to complete that. Now you can go ahead and add the tires and the wheel assemblies to the suspension parts, and they look pretty good. Those are some massive tires back there. As you can see on the right there, looks like the seat backs have a television screen mounted inside the TV. I didn't even think they had flat screens back then, but there it is. I just scraped it off, sanded it off smooth, as you see here on the one on the left. You can see the parts here are painted either flat black or aluminum, and the dash is has pretty nicely detailed gauges, or you can use some aftermarket gauges if you like. And so here's what the completed interior would look like. The seats are a little on the glossy side, but they're actually semi-gloss. Now I also painted the shift knob body color just for a little flair. Now we'll turn our attention to the body. There's some braces there. You can see them outlined with oblique lines, and then there's some parting lines along the tops of the fenders and up along the drip rail, etc. So clean those up, scrape them off and then sand them off so that they're nice and smooth. So here you see the hole in the hood, the etched hole, so that you can remove that. Use the backside of a hobby blade and scribe it until it cuts through. You're also going to find that at the back end you may need to extend that a little bit to make sure that the injectors will clear that hole in the hood. So with the hole in the hood nicely contoured and cut out, we're going to assemble the scoop, and it's a two-piece unit, and of course it'll need to be smoothed along the longitudinal line there to make it look nice. And then we're going to install that on top of the hood into place later on. Give the body a couple of light coats of light gray primer. And then after that is done, of course, the body was painted with a light one-shot brand 124L orange. And then after that, 3 coats of that in light paint and a final wet coat, I used a light mist of number 100L vermilion and fogged the lower part of the body for some emphasis. Now the graphics on the side are kind of dated. They came from the original kit actually. So once that was all in position, I pushed the interior into place on the body assembly and then added that to the completed chassis. So here is the trim, the bumper there, of course, and the taillights, and they were painted stoplight red and white for the backup lights there, and then attached to the vehicle. You can see the parts are in place here, and they look pretty nice and clean. And next we're going to work on that front end and the hood. You can see that the grille has been blacked out. The turn signals could use a little, clear orange, and even the headlights maybe a little white glue to give them some tint. Now, there's a bonus with this kit. You get an engine stand and an engine block, a short block, to put together for display purposes with this kit. Well, there's some extra parts with this kit. You see here, the wheelie bars. I didn't use those. There's a nice back seat from a different kit and some windows, etc. trim. That's up to you. You can use them if you want to build a different version. Well, there you have it. Your model is complete. And this great looking Pro Street kit looks just fabulous with that high-rise manifold, the huge super wide rear tires, and that great big hood scoop, and the matching engine stand with engine. I think it'll make a great addition to anybody's shelf. So if I were you, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf. Well, we hope you like this premium step-by-step model kit review, and so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that by clicking on the icon in the lower right hand of any of our reviews, and so that you don't miss any more.